Modern games suck. Back in my day, we had the golden age of video games. I wish things were like the good old days.
Have you ever heard people say these things as your eyes just slowly roll to the back of your head? I mean, what's more annoying than some old guy crashing a discussion with broad and vague overgeneralizations as you just sit there thinking how to make this guy stop talking? But what if they're actually right? What if that old guy is actually blessing you with knowledge and he's just trying to do his best to make the world a better place? Well, in between those two extremes lies this video, so why don't we actually take a look at the history of video games to see if things were really better or not? I know people will always point to the 1990s as the turning point in gaming when the personal computer had taken off by then and the internet started to become a thing, but believe it or not, gaming was quite prevalent before computers. And so let's see if these old games were really better by examining the oldest gaming genre in history, the strategy game. For you younger people, I'm probably going to need to start by describing to you what strategy games even are. Every single type of game has strategy, whether it's tactical shooters, fighters, survival, battle royales, it doesn't matter. The strategy games that I'm specifically referring to are the games in the more traditional sense of strategy, aka war, where you controlled pieces, you chose where they were placed, you chose who to sacrifice for the greater good, and people have been playing these games for millennia. Every single culture had some form of these games where they controlled these little soldiers and bashed them against each other. You have chess, chess, Chinese checkers, Go, and that's just a tiny fraction of the strategy games out there. So then what happened in the 1990s to this genre? As you might have noticed, all of those old strategy games were turn-based, and honestly for good reason. The focus of these games was to make strategic decisions, and so you wanted to give players time to think and make optimal decisions that they felt reflected their strategy. I mean, could you imagine a real-time game of checkers? Or what about a real-time game of chess, where you could just move as quickly as you could? It'd be so strange and so ridiculous, but actually kind of awesome. On top of that, what if you had different types of pieces? And what if you had a larger board and like terrain advantage? Tabletop gaming is the example of how turn based strategies just went ahead with these ideas anyways without the technology, but anyone who's played these games know they have a huge problem. They all suffer from the slowness of rules that made them so exciting to begin with, and this is why the advancement of technology was so pivotal to this genre. Having a computer and using a keyboard and mouse controls really streamlined these cool ideas, and it's what allowed RTS to elevate strategy to a whole new level. I mean, people were literally applying Sun Tzu's Art of War to these games. And this is how RTS was born. You went from board game strategy to full on war, and there was only one thing we changed from an existing genre: turns. It's these kinds of innovations that take games to that next level, whether it was RTS, which did away with turns, open world games, which turned instance gaming into vast connected worlds, adventure games that turned terrain from restrictions into parkour mini puzzles. The list goes on. But what have we seen nowadays? Continuing with our RTS example, the top games in this category are still Dota, League of Legends, and the Total War series, all of which were born in the 2000s. Yes, there have been different versions adding new mechanics, but at the end of the day, it's the same genre and the same core gameplay. I was not surprised at all to see that the average person playing Dota has almost 2,000 hours of playtime, and that doesn't even consider the amount of time that they probably spent in Dota 1 either. By the way, I don't think it's because people aren't trying out new games. People notice when a cool new game comes out, and not even Google is safe from innovation. I believe that it's genuinely because most gaming companies aren't trying to innovate anymore. It's just so much easier to push out the tried and true, reliable systems that bring in the money. So, just comparing the scale at which gaming changed during this time, I don't think it's hard to believe that we really haven't seen the same level of innovations that took us from this, to this, to this, to this. Sure, convenience and graphics have come a long way since the 2000s, but the gameplay experience itself hasn't really seen as much innovation. But okay, so what? Why does innovation matter in this discussion if old games were better? I mean, we can go back anytime we want and play any of those games. So is it even possible to say that games were better back in the good old days? Well, we need to consider the unique gaming experiences in video games. There was one time I went to a seafood restaurant and was served 2 scallops and a puddle of sauce with a piece of pork belly. Being on the uncultured swine I was, I asked the waiter how was I supposed to eat the darn thing, to which he responded, "It's a personal experience." Now, I suppose he didn't want to offend me or something, but he was right. I ate the scallops, I thought they tasted exactly the same as other scallops, except this one cost me $15 and I was still hungry. So no, in my opinion, that wasn't a great meal. And gaming is quite similar. A game is only good if it's providing something better than what people are already used to. People who only buy the 2K sports games every year don't feel like they're getting a new game. It feels like they're buying a patch. Fortunately, the opposite is also true. You can have a great experience with a game that critics might have terrible things to say about if it's a new thing for you. Those housewives playing Candy Crush all day, I guarantee you gaming simply wasn't as accessible to them until mobile gaming. But so what? Even I played the shit out of this game, whose economy ran on cards which were a 0.01% drop rate, where you literally sat down in game to heal for minutes before grinding again. This is why nostalgia for games, or anything really, actually exists. People want to relive their sense of awe and wonder that the old game made them feel. And the crazy thing is, it works. Do you think people are playing RuneScape for its cutting edge gameplay, or MapleStory for its graphics? Why do so many WoW players literally hate modern WoW, but still play that game regardless? The answer is quite simple. The experiences that they had with these games still lives on. Every time they start these games back up, it takes them back to a time in their life when things were awesome, which is why people get genuinely hurt when these games take on a different direction. I'm not here to say if this is the right way to feel or not, but gaming companies and movie creators should really consider this point when changing old IPs. I'm definitely not saying that it's always bad either. This is why innovation is important. People want to be wowed and they want to have a unique gaming experience that they love. A great era of gaming is when your mind is getting blown month after month after month, even in the same genres. With technology constantly being developed and tools becoming better every year, why shouldn't people expect innovation? Art imitates life, as they say, and variety is the spice of life. So if innovation in gaming was at its peak by the 2000s and the uniqueness of the gaming experience is the most important aspect in gaming, were video games really better in the good old days?
You bet your ass they were, sonny boy.